Welcome to Darkwatch Stories, where we bring to life the chills, the shadows, and the mysteries that linger in the dark. If you enjoy spine-tingling stories and want to support the journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Now, sit back, dim the lights, and let's step into tonight's story. My name is Marcus, a janitor for the SCP Foundation. A place where the strange sleeps behind glass and silence. I never planned this life. I once dreamed of something simple with insurance and a nameplate on the door. Now I just clean, survive, and pretend the world outside is still normal. I used to fix leaky pipes and flickering lights in a small middle school. Same mop, same tired hands, just more gum under desks and fewer thank yous. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Coffee at 6, mop by 7, lunch with a stubborn vending machine that owed me snacks. I could have kept that rhythm forever until the budget cuts came. The halls went silent, and my life, once routine, simply ran out of floors to clean. They gave us 3 weeks, a paper check, and a thank you that felt rehearsed. At nearly 40, I was back on the job market, selling myself like a worn-out tool, knees aching, pride fading, but still willing. The world didn't care. It wanted youth, quick hands, cheap labor. Standing among kids half my age, I felt like a relic in a museum of fresh starts. Jen, my wife, kept smiling through it all. She said it would be fine. I wanted to believe her, but hope felt heavier than any mop I'd ever lifted. Jen was always the hopeful one. She said losing my job might be a blessing, a reason to rest, to breathe. She picked up weekend shifts at the diner, smiling through exhaustion, while I sat at home scrolling endless job boards filled with nothing. Every fake grin she wore hurt more than any rejection letter. I hated watching her carry the weight I was supposed to bear. Then the letter came, no stamp, no sender, just waiting in our mailbox like it had been there forever. A single typed page offering work for someone experienced, adaptable, and discreet. No interview, no phone call, only directions to a facility hidden in the mountains. Monday, 8 p.m. It sounded wrong, like the start of a bad story, but when desperation knocks, even silence feels like an invitation. The letter ended with one strange promise. Pay is nightly. Envelope upon shift completion. No questions asked. Jen laughed, said it had to be a prank. I wasn't so sure. Maybe some grim cleanup job, I thought. Foreclosures, crime scenes, something desperate. But we needed the cash. Our savings were a jar of coins and a check from her cousin we swore we'd never cash until now. I told myself I'd just show up, take a look, and leave if it felt wrong. But when I got there, no one was waiting. Just a red button beside a camera humming softly as the gate slid open on its own. No words, no faces, just that quiet welcome. It felt rehearsed, mechanical, like they'd been expecting me for a long time, and I was already part of it. That first night felt like stepping into a dream, too clean to be real. The hallway stretched on white floors, perfect light, no flicker, no sound. At the end, waited a locker with my name. Inside a neatly folded blue uniform, a key card, and 6 rules taped to the door. No supervisor, no introductions, just a silent command work: obey, collect your envelope, and pretend the weight inside is worth the unease you carry home. That envelope kept me coming back, heavy, silent, and full of reasons not to ask questions. But there are things about the SCP Foundation you should know, lessons I learned the hard way. People think it's a secret government branch or some alien experiment. They're wrong. The truth isn't bigger, it's stranger and far closer than you'd like. I've heard every rumor, black sites, secret labs, even one guy swearing the place was funded by time travelers. None of it fits. The truth is simpler and much stranger. The SCP Foundation exists to keep the world boring. That's what a guard told me on my 3rd night, when I asked why the lights in Hall B never turned off. Because routine keeps the weird things asleep, he said, and I've never forgotten that. Routine keeps the weird things asleep, he said, as if that explained everything. That's how people talk here, like madness is common sense. I didn't understand, not at first. Later I learned the truth. They lock up what defies reason, objects, creatures, even entire rooms that break the rules of reality. They call them anomalies. They deal with things that break the rules of existence, objects that bend physics, twist time, or simply shouldn't be possible. Their job is to study, contain, and erase all traces of these anomalies so the world can keep pretending it's normal. Out there, no one knows about the mop that eats fingers or the chair that grows teeth. Their motto is simple: secure, contain, protect. Their motto is everywhere, stamped on walls, printed on forms, even etched into my mop bucket. At first I thought it was corporate nonsense. Then I saw the way they lived by it. They truly believe they're saving the world by keeping it predictable, no chaos, no wonder, just control. Me, I'm not part of their science. I just clean up the mess they leave behind. Still, some nights it feels less like janitorial work and more like tending cages. I spend my nights mopping endless halls, wiping fingerprints from glass, and scrubbing the walls just outside the containment chambers. I never go inside one of the unspoken laws of survival here. Still, the things inside sometimes notice me. They tap the glass, they smile. Once one even held up a sign, "Nice shirt." I didn't laugh. Around here, even a compliment feels like a threat. There are always new smudges, new scratches, marks that appear where nothing was minutes before. I stopped wondering how. Around here, questions are dangerous. You just show up, suit up, clean, and leave. By morning, there's always an envelope waiting in my locker. Sealed, heavy, cash only. Just enough to keep the fridge humming and the lights from flickering, a quiet trade for never asking why. I've been here for months now, still no idea why they chose me. But I have a theory. Back in high school, I took one of those career tests, the kind that asked how you handle fear, stress, right and wrong. The counselor said I scored off the charts for mental endurance. Fortitude, she called it. Maybe the Foundation got that file. Maybe they were looking for someone who wouldn't break when the lights start whispering. I'm pretty sure the Foundation found those test results. It would explain a lot. You have to be wired a certain way to walk these halls without losing your mind. You can't flinch every time something stares at you through the glass. And trust me, there's plenty to stare back. This place collects monsters, like museums collect art. The first creature they trusted me with was called Mr. Hugs. Sounds cute, right? It's not. Around here, rules come without explanations, just 6 of them printed and absolute. Rule 1 was the first I learned by heart. Always feed the bear its Cheerios. Not the honey kind, not multigrain, just the yellow box. Gluten-free, heart-healthy, and apparently crucial to keeping a 9-foot patchwork nightmare calm. Strange how survival can come in a cereal box. I keep a yellow box of Cheerios in my cart, tucked beside the spray bottles and rags. The plain kind, no honey, no fancy grains. Around here, curiosity kills more than cats. Bad things happen when you try to get clever with these creatures. So I don't improvise. I follow the rules. Yellow box every time, and always keep extras. Some nights that box feels like my lifeline. Mr. Hug stays in Sector B, second hallway, last cell on the left. His chamber is glass from floor to ceiling on 3 sides, steel on the back, padded floors beneath. Above the door hangs a cheerful red bear face, the kind you'd see in a children's hospital. Don't be fooled. That's for comfort, not truth. Nobody here calls him cute. Standing close to 9 feet tall, Mr. Hugs is more patchwork horror than childhood memory. His fur tells a story, matted in patches, smooth in others, like he'd been dragged through a barn and brushed by someone who gave up halfway. His arms hang long, resting on his knees. The head's too big, too round, cartoonish almost. One glass eye missing, the other blinking now and then. I never figured out how. Every stitch pulls tight, as if he's breathing, and in that quiet, it's easy to forget he isn't supposed to be alive. He sits on a worn cushion in the middle of his glass cell head, swaying slowly side to side like he's hearing a song the rest of us can't. He never stands, never reacts when I pass by unless it's feeding time. Somehow he always knows. Maybe it's the sound of the cartwheels or the faint rattle of the cereal box. I start my rounds at the far end, working my way toward him, pretending it's just another hallway. I mop the tiles carefully, check the air filters, and polish the base of the viewing glass until it shines. Even the wheels of my cart must stay silent. Noise can draw the wrong kind of attention. When I reach Mr. Hugs, I pull out the yellow box and place it on the steel tray beside the chute. One press of the button and it's gone. Sometimes I leave another box later, no schedule, no pattern, just instinct and respect for the rule. No matter how many boxes I slide in, they always vanish. I've never seen him eat. No crumbs, no movement, no sound. Just gone. Once, curiosity got the better of me. I placed a tiny camera on the box, the cheap kind that runs on batteries. Thought maybe I'd finally see how he does it. Foolish idea. In this place, curiosity isn't just dangerous, it's personal. The next morning, the camera was back on the tray, intact, still running but empty. The footage was completely wiped. The box, of course, was gone. That was the last time I tried to outsmart this place. Curiosity doesn't pay here. It only stares back. Some people whisper theories, say Mr. Hugs isn't real, just a shell for something hidden inside. I stopped asking what that something might be. Some say he's a kind of psychic trap for children, that if you show him anything but kindness, he snaps. I don't believe it. What I do know is that years ago, Mr. Hugs belonged to a little girl on a farm in Alabama. After she fell ill, their animals began dying, first the dogs, then the pigs, then the goats. No wounds, no struggle. They just fell one by one. And then her parents followed. When the Foundation arrived, the girl was gone, the house abandoned, and Mr. Hugs sat quietly in the barn, surrounded by a perfect circle of dead goats. They took him that very day. Now a laminated photo hangs inside his viewing glass. The bear once clean and new, the girl beside him smiling. It's meant to be comforting, I guess. But all it does is make the silence heavier. That photo's meant to be comforting, I guess. But the way he sits now, swaying gently like he's lost in some memory, makes me wonder what he remembers. I never touch the glass, never speak, never linger. I mop the floor, restock the cereal, and move on. He's never done anything to scare me. Still, I always keep 2 extra boxes in the cart, just in case kindness runs out, just in case that's how most things work here. Anyway, the next rule's one you never want to forget. Rule 2. If you see Miss Lady walking the halls, say good evening and keep moving. That's all. No questions, no hesitation. Around here, they call her Miss Lady, officially SCP-7231. But nobody says that out loud. Everyone whispers her name like the walls might hear it. Or worse, like she might. She came from Las Vegas, or what was left of her did. The file says she was first seen wandering behind a gas station near the Strip. A man taking out the trash thought she was just another drunk lost in the neon haze. Then he saw it, her torso wasn't attached. He fainted right there on the pavement. When he woke, she was still circling the dumpster, step by step as if searching for the rest of herself. The Foundation took her in that very night. They didn't fight or chase, just shone a light into the back of a transport van and waited. She walked up the ramp on her own, calm and silent, like she'd been expecting the invitation. No struggle, no fear. The strangest thing wasn't how she moved, though, but how she looked, or rather what little of her was left to look at. Miss Lady is pale from the waist down, her skin stretched thin over bone and sinew. Her legs are long but move awkwardly, every step stiff, as if her joints have forgotten how to bend. Her bare feet drag faint shadows on the floor, soles blackened, nails cracked, each mark a quiet protest from the ground itself. Her body ends just above the hips, unfinished, like someone stopped creating her halfway through and simply let her keep walking. There's no clean edge. Where her body ends, just torn openness, raw and wrong. Her torso is simply gone, and if you ever dare to look too closely, you'll see straight into the void inside her. Miss Lady doesn't belong to any one place. She wanders the halls endlessly. The Foundation tried to contain her once, but walls mean little to something that no longer remembers being whole. They sealed every door, checked every lock, secured every light, and still she vanished before the next patrol. Now Miss Lady drifts through the halls between 2 and 3 a.m., never earlier, never later. If you're on shift during those hours, you brace yourself. She's never been violent, at least not yet. But that doesn't mean she can't be. That's the thing about creatures here. Quiet doesn't mean safe, and calm doesn't mean mercy. The rule couldn't be clearer if you see her say, "Good evening," and keep walking. No questions, no comments, no staring. A simple greeting is enough to keep you safe. I didn't know that the first time. I was cleaning the main corridor in Sector B, mop in hand, when I heard footsteps behind me, slow, deliberate, echoing too softly to belong to anything alive. The footsteps were clear, sharp against the tile, each one deliberate. I thought it was a guard doing rounds, so I turned. What I saw froze me solid. Her legs were pale and stiff, her feet blackened from endless walking, and above her hips nothing but the slow sway of exposed organs in the open air. My grip failed. The mop clattered to the floor. The last thing I remember before darkness was the sound of her steps still coming closer. When I came to, I was lying on the cold floor, my neck throbbing. A security guard stood over me, more annoyed than concerned. He recited the second rule word for word, then walked off as if fainting beside a torso-less woman was routine. Since then, I don't take chances. When I hear those soft, dragging steps, I keep my head forward and my eyes exactly where they belong. Now when I see her, I just whisper, "Good evening," and keep walking, steady and calm. She never responds. She only passes by her bare feet, leaving faint gray imprints on the tile like smoke. In the break room, people whisper about her, where she came from, how she exists, and why she's one of the few allowed to roam free. The last question always lingers. If she's walking the halls, are any of us truly safe? By now I know her footsteps by heart, measured steady, never too fast or too slow. They echo down the halls like a heartbeat fading, just long enough to make me wonder if she stopped behind me. I never turn to check. You learn not to, because the moment you think it's over, another rule waits. Rule 3. When Randy appears, keep him in sight and walk backward until he's gone. I've seen Randy only 3 times, and I pray that number never changes. His file calls him SCP-8092, but no one here says that aloud. Around the facility, he's just Randy the Reverse Man. Sounds harmless, almost funny, until you actually see him. After that, the name stops being a joke. You don't talk about Randy unless you have to, and even then you whisper as if speaking his name might make him turn your way. Randy is kept in the West Wing, buried deep in a section nobody uses anymore. The whole corridor stays dark, the kind of dark that hums in your ears. The lights only flicker on when the motion sensors catch you, and even then, they never glow fully, just a weak buzz like the electricity itself is afraid. When I'm assigned there, I move fast. No music, no humming, no curiosity. I don't listen for sounds. I don't watch the shadows. They move enough on their own. The rule about Randy is painfully simple. If you see him, don't blink, don't turn away. Keep your eyes locked, step back slowly, and don't return until the next shift. It sounds easy until you try it. I learned why that rule exists during my second month here, and since then, I've never doubted a single word of it. A researcher once explained Randy to me just in passing 2 days before his name vanished from the roster. He said Randy's like the weeping angels from Doctor Who creatures that only move when no one's watching. But unlike them, Randy isn't stone. He looks almost human, a man in a dark gray suit, every crease sharp, every button shining like it's been polished by invisible hands. Whatever he is, the suit isn't a disguise. It's a warning, dressed as civility. His shoes are old-fashioned black, spotless, polished like glass. From a distance, he could almost pass for human, someone real. But look closer, and everything unravels. His arms bend the wrong way, elbows jointed backward, fingers curling unnaturally, painfully, though he never flinches. His legs twist the same bent against logic itself. Randy isn't broken. He's built wrong, like reality got his blueprint backward. His knees bend the wrong way, ankles twisting in slow, precise circles as he walks backward each step, rewinding reality like a broken film reel. His head faces the wrong direction too. His face sits on the back of his skull, smiling that impossible smile. The teeth are too small, too square a grin that says he knows exactly what you regret most and finds it funny. Randy never blinks. He never breathes. He just walks backward through silence like the world itself recoils from him. If you blink even once, Randy moves closer. That's the rule everyone learns too late. The first time I saw him was during a late shift cleaning the abandoned corridor near Lab 7C. No one warned me he was active that night. I turned the corner and froze. He stood at the far end, arms dangling loosely at his sides, perfectly still. I thought he was facing away until he started moving. Step by step backward, every motion wrong, slow, deliberate, coming toward me without ever turning around. I froze where I stood, my brain refusing to make sense of what I was seeing. His arms bent backward as he stepped closer, joints twisting in ways no body should. Then his neck turned, slow, deliberate, until his eyes met mine, though his body never moved. The lights flickered once overhead. That was enough. I remembered the rule, keep looking, so I locked my gaze and began to back away. I backed away step by step until he slipped out of the light and into the dark beyond, but I could still see him. His eyes never blinked, his grin never wavered. I reached the end of the hallway and turned the corner, finally breaking line of sight. For 10 whole minutes I stood there, heart hammering, afraid to breathe. I never went back to finish cleaning that corridor. I never logged the incident, never filed a report. There was no need, the researchers already knew. Everyone here does. They just choose silence over sanity. Now, before every shift, I check the schedule. If Randy's marked as active, I avoid that wing. If my route still includes it, I ask for a reschedule. And if all else fails, I bring a mirror. Sometimes survival is just knowing where not to look. I keep the mirror angled over my shoulder as I walk, blinking only when I have to. I'd face Miss Lady twice in a single night before I'd ever risk seeing Randy again. That's not fear, it's instinct. Now on to Rule 4. If Gusty is in the hall, don't turn your back. Walk away slowly, eyes locked until you're safe. I didn't believe in Gusty at first. Around here, people talk a lot, and not every story sounds real until the night you see one yourself. People here talk just to keep the silence from swallowing them. Over time, you learn which tales are nonsense and which ones keep you alive. When I first heard about Gusty, I brushed it off as a recycled Randy story, same idea, different name. Another thing that moves only when unseen, another monster that freezes under your stare. But repetition doesn't make it less real here. Then I found out there were files, real ones, reports, photos, even security footage. Gusty wasn't another Randy. He was worse. Imagine one of those plastic anatomy models from biology class, the kind that stood by the window collecting dust. Ours was missing a lung. Gusty isn't. He's complete every organ, every painted vein and artery, visible beneath a glossy red shell that shouldn't be moving but somehow is. His body is a lesson in anatomy. Plastic muscles stretched over a spotless skeleton, all shiny red and pink, his face frozen in a permanent grin of molded teeth. There's even a heart panel locked in his chest, removable in theory, though no one's foolish enough to test it. When still, Gusty looks harmless, like a prop left behind after class. But the danger starts when you blink, look away for even a second, and he's no longer where you left him. If you ever spot Gusty during your rounds, don't think you can just keep walking and hope he ignores you. The moment you look away, he moves. He's patient like a predator, waiting for a blink too long, a step too quick, or even the brief moment your cart blocks the view. Then he advances fast, deliberate, silent. He doesn't creep like Randy. Gusty lunges, closing the distance before your brain even registers fear. If Gusty catches you, it's over before you even hit the ground. He knocks you out cold and drags you always to the same place, the second floor science room. It doesn't matter where you started. That's where you'll wake up slumped in a plastic chair beneath faded classroom posters. Gusty will be there too, standing by the projector like a teacher waiting to start class. That's how they found a level 2 researcher last month. Everyone in this wing remembers. Once you spot Gusty, your shift is done. There's no finishing your route, no pretending he isn't there. You either hold his gaze and back away until you're safe, or use the only trick the Foundation's discovered that stops him cold. It's called video number 004. For those who can't endure the stare, there's a backup plan run to the old viewing theater at the south end. The old projector barely works, its buttons stick, the film stutters, but once video 004 starts playing, Gusty freezes completely. The footage is an old documentary about the school he came from, though the name's been erased from every frame. It shows uniformed students' endless hallways, a headmaster lecturing about legacy and science. Then there's a photo, a science club posing proudly beside a skeleton model that looks almost identical to Gusty. The film ends there, but somehow he remembers the rest. The film runs for 18 minutes, 18 quiet, merciful minutes. As long as it plays, Gusty stays frozen. You can look away, breathe, even walk past him if you dare. Some janitors have cleaned right under his feet, hearts pounding, knowing every second counts. But when the tape ends, everything resumes. His joints twist, his head turns, and if you're not already out of the room, Gusty finishes what the video mercifully paused. I've only used the tape once. That night, I didn't have the courage to hold his stare. I bolted for the old theater, slammed the play button, and watched through the glass as Gusty froze, mid-step his arm raised, reaching for something that wasn't there. He didn't move, not even a tremor. I cleaned that entire hallway in 6 minutes flat, left the mop water untouched, and was gone long before the credits rolled. The tape worked, but not in a way that felt right. The researchers say Gusty recognizes the school, that the video soothes him. Maybe they're right. But I think it doesn't calm him, it reminds him of what I don't want to know. Anyway, that brings us to Rule 5. Make sure the yellow kid's cell is always raining. Check the valves, check the tanks. There's a child here or something pretending to be one. No one's ever seen what's under the coat. It wears a yellow raincoat hood, pulled low enough to hide everything beneath. No skin, no hint of gender, just a drenched figure swallowed by fabric 2 sizes too big. The sleeves hang long, empty, where hands should be. Water clings to it, constantly dripping in slow, steady trails. The yellow kid doesn't move much, but when it does, every drop seems to fall in rhythm with your heartbeat. The yellow kid stands motionless in the center of its room, head tilted slightly, as if listening or waiting for something. Its rule is simple: the rain must never stop. Not humidity, not mist, not damp air, real rain, constant and steady, falling like a storm that never ends. The downpour comes from a system built into the ceiling above, with metal pipes leading down to water tanks on the lower level. As long as the rain keeps falling, it stays still. When it stops, things change. Those tanks feed into a pressure system that powers a grid of nozzles above the yellow kid's cell. When activated, they release a soft, steady rain, gentle enough to mimic calm weather, constant enough to never stop. It keeps the room soaked, but never flooded like an endless drizzle caught in time. Maintaining it isn't my main job. That's maintenance work. But around here, everyone learns to keep one eye on the rain. Always. The maintenance crew handles the hard work refilling tanks, replacing pipes, resetting controls when things fail. My job's simpler, but no less important. During rounds, I'm told to check the basics, look through the observation window to confirm it's still raining, then glance at the gauges by the control panel. As long as the pressure stays high, the yellow kid sleeps. If it drops, that's when the nightmare starts. If the water ever stops and no one notices, things can turn bad fast. That's why whoever's on duty in that hallway takes full responsibility, and most nights that's me. The tanks are tall metal cylinders, each marked to show how full they are. The main tank has a strip of black tape near the top. That mark 60% is the line between calm and catastrophe. When the water drops below that black tape, pressure falters and the rain starts sputtering, or worse, stops. If that happens, I never try to fix it myself. I call maintenance, then activate the backup valve. It links to a secondary tank less reliable, but better than nothing. In emergencies, it keeps the rainfall steady just long enough for repairs. Around here, those few minutes of rain can mean the difference between safety and disaster. When the rain falls, the yellow kid stays perfectly still. That's the one fact everyone here agrees on. It just stands there, hood down, sleeves dangling, silent as stone. But when the rain stops, things change. I've heard the stories whispered in the break room, never written down. No one agrees on the details, only that it's bad. Really bad. They say 4 people died in the outer hallway before someone thought to turn the sprinklers back on. Since then, the rule's unbreakable. It must always be raining. But the next rule is worse. Rule 6: give the Sandman his dinner every night at 8. Never be late. The Sandman isn't like the others. Most of them just stare or rattle in their cages. He doesn't. He talks, and when he does, it feels like he already knows you. He talks like someone who's known you for years, your tone, your secrets, even the things you've never said aloud. Sometimes before I can stop myself, I answer him. I shouldn't. Officially, he's SCP-9912, but everyone just calls him the Sandman. The name feels wrong at first. There's nothing dreamy or gentle about him. His chamber is a desert of its own dunes, rising and falling without wind. The floor shifting like it's breathing beneath your feet. The sand in his chamber never rests. Some nights it piles high against the walls, others it spreads thin like dust. Yet it always moves, as if alive. The Sandman stands in the center, unmoving, a lone pillar in a shifting desert. He's tall, his body wrapped in faded clothes the color of sand. No eyes, no mouth, no face, just smooth, pale skin, stretched where humanity should be. You can always tell when he's watching. The Sandman's head tilts just enough, his neck bending toward you as you enter, no eyes, but you still feel the stare. His rule is strict. Every night at exactly 8, he gets his meal. The tray looks normal: 1 protein, some vegetables, and a glass of juice. Chicken one night, beef the next. Green beans, carrots, or peas. Ordinary food for something that isn't human, but understands ritual better than most people do. The juice is almost always orange, the kind you'd see in a cafeteria. But nothing on that tray is ordinary. Every bite, every sip is soaked in a tonic, loaded with caffeine enough to keep a man awake for days. That's the point. The Sandman isn't allowed to sleep. No one tells us why, and I've learned better than to ask. Still, I can guess if he ever dreams, the rest of us won't wake up. You don't drug someone every single day unless there's a reason, and with a Sandman reason comes wrapped in fear. They say he can reach into people's minds, twist thoughts like sand through his fingers. No one takes chances with that. The irony isn't lost on anyone, the Sandman who never sleeps. When I deliver his meal, I never step far. I set the tray down in the marked square just past the doorway and get out fast. The sand stirs beneath my boots every time I step inside, like the room itself resents my presence. The Sandman never moves, he just speaks. The first time I almost dropped the tray when he said, "Marcus, you're late." I wasn't. My watch read 7:59. I placed the food down and left in silence. The next night, he spoke my wife's name. The night after that, the name of the street I grew up on. He shouldn't know those things. Sometimes it's worse. Sometimes the Sandman says things no one could possibly know, things I've never told a soul. I don't know if he's pulling them from my head or if the Foundation fed him my file. Either way, both truths feel wrong. Most nights I keep quiet, but sometimes I slip. When he says my name, it just comes out, yes, like he's not asking, but reminding me that I already belong in his conversation. If he asks a question, sometimes I answer without meaning to, just a whisper, barely a sound. He never laughs, never jokes, never changes his tone. But when I respond, I can feel it some strange sense of satisfaction radiating from him, like he's feeding on acknowledgement itself. The others scare you in obvious ways. Randy paralyzes you with terror. Gusty knocks you out cold. But the Sandman, he gets inside your head and stays there. The Sandman doesn't need to touch you to win. Just standing near him makes you feel defeated, like you've already lost something you can't name. That's why I never break his rule dinner at exactly 8. Protein, vegetables, juice. Each meal soaked with enough caffeine to keep him awake for days. No one knows what would happen if he ever slept, and no one wants to find out. Some doors are meant to stay closed even in dreams. Epilogue. That's all I know for now. I'm just one of many janitors wandering these endless halls, mops in hand and rules in mind. We were brought here with no explanation, just a list of do's and don'ts that decide whether we live or disappear. Some of us handle entire wings alone. Some barely speak at all. Maybe silence is safer here. Words have a way of waking things that should stay asleep. There are a few janitors I haven't seen in weeks. Maybe they quit. Maybe they were transferred. Or maybe something else happened, something no one wants to say aloud. Nobody tells you anything here. You just show up, clean what you're told, deliver what you must, and keep your head down. The facility is bigger than anyone admits. It's not just one building, it goes deeper, farther twisting into places that shouldn't exist at all. I've walked the same hallway for months, yet new doors keep appearing silent, unmarked, as if the building's alive and rearranging itself. The elevators descend to levels that don't exist on any map, and some rooms aren't logged anywhere. When you ask, the Foundation just stares as if you should already know. So I stop asking. I mop the floors, scrub the glass, and deliver dinner to things that don't sleep, don't eat, and definitely shouldn't speak. I check valves, flip switches, restock supplies, and jot down anything that feels off. I keep a small notebook in my locker just for me, not because I expect anyone to read it, but because writing helps me remember what's real and what's just part of the job. When my shift ends, I return to the locker room. The envelope is always waiting sealed, thick, heavy, and somehow that weight feels like both payment and warning. The envelope is always the same, thick, sealed, and unmarked. I don't bother counting the money anymore. It's always enough. I drive home in the dark, slip quietly into bed beside my wife. She stirs, murmurs something soft, and falls back asleep. I never tell her about my nights. She never asks. That's our unspoken deal. That's the job. If you're ever offered it, remember this. The pay is good, the nights are long, and you must always follow the rules. Thank you for listening to Darkwatch Stories. If this story gave you chills, make sure to like, subscribe, and share so we can keep bringing you more. Until next time, stay safe and stay aware of what might be watching in the dark.